Did you lose your roll?
Yeah, do I get to recall it?
I don't know. Let's find out.
That's gone.
That's gone.
But
you
now
got an
the
85.
floor is 85. There we go.
Whoa, 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 what? We were live and talking?
Switch to the screen. I want people to see me rolling.
86. Store it. See, what you need to do is 85. Anything above 85, you got to check the strength.
91.
Store it. Check
Hell
the strength.
yeah.
Check the strengths. Pump it up.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh yeah. 1899. That's a good roll.
Let's drop some decks.
Store that. Store that.
Paladins don't need to be wise, right?
You totally got to store that.
Check it out. 91. Do you see this?
91 roll.
91. West Edmonton Mall. Oh, wait. It's B for Beamdog.
I think you're reaching. Are we actually live, Dan?
We are live.
We are actually live. So, welcome to the stream. We are goofing off, as we always do. Phil is rando rolling characters and trying for the absolute highest rolls he can get.
I got a 91. Did you guys see? You can't get that roll.
He got a
with
91,
regular luck.
and then he got the strength 1899, which is brilliant.
So this is the whole hour. I'm just going to be clicking on reroll.
Phil is just he's gonna do the normal Baldur's Gate
89.
character
not
build.
quite good enough.
Roll for hours. So, first off, Happy New Year.
Yeah, welcome back, folks.
Oh my God, it is another year.
It's been 3 weeks? 3 weeks since our last stream. We took some time off over the break. Everybody went home. They got a lot of sleep and worked on a lot of Neverwinter bugs, and we have a new build for you today. So if you haven't yet gotten into the Neverwinter Nights Head Start program, head on over to Beamdog, buy the game there, and you'll be granted access to the Head Start program, which is the in-development version of Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, where you get to see all the new stuff that we're working on, all the cool new features, etc., etc. So this latest build, Trent, what are some of the things that we're going to be seeing in there?
So the patch notes should be up. We should have it listed what kind of we're actively pushing out. We've got the new master server up and functioning. We've got a bit of more work yet to do on that going down the road, but as a whole, it's actually pretty awesome. I think the biggest improvements are really just bug fixes. Just gone through, found some edge cases where things kind of went sideways, where things blew up.
So there's a new build available today. You should see it in the very, very near future. So some of the stuff that's coming up in the near future, we're almost finished with NAT punching, which is basically letting the game tunnel through your router or firewall so that you can play with other people. At present, Neverwinter is a bit of a bear in this regard. It's kind of an old school game in that you have to open up your ports, forward them, and that's kind of a big pain in the ass. So we're making NAT tunneling part of the game, and we hope to roll that out in the very, very near future.
We were calling it NAT punching, which I like way better than NAT tunneling. NAT punching just sounds fun.
It's the same thing. It's a cool techno cyberpunk sort of, you know.
Okay, quickly, punch the NAT, man. Okay, go. Yeah. It could totally be a movie thing. It would have Keanu Reeves.
That is true.
And he would be annoying.
I could see him in a D&D movie. He seems like he's that kind of guy where, you know, he's got the style. He was in Constantine, which was
awesome.
Borderline D&D already.
Constantine was awesome.
Truthfully, I don't remember anything about that movie. I think it might have just been John Wick 0, but my brain is
kind of like
telling
John
me.
Wick 0 with some... That was based off the Hellraiser comic, which was awesome. And it was a shame they cast Keanu Reeves.
And this is why you come, to hear us talk listlessly about Keanu Reeves movies.
About rando, unrelated things.
So let's hop over to the Neverwinter Nights Head Start Trello board. If we switch over to my monitor, you can see what's going on here. So for the uninitiated, the Trello board is where we've got all of the features and plans that we're going to be moving forward with in Neverwinter Nights.
So the truth is there are actually two Trello boards. The Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition Trello board, which is the one we are actively working on. People are staring at it every moment of every day, pondering the best way to accomplish the things that are on this list. And then there's the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition input board, where the forum is putting together all the requests and stack ranking and voting up the things that they want to see happen. And based on that, stuff gets moved. So this week, some things actually moved over from the input board over to the active board. One of the big things is update the player character models.
Yes, this is the most requested feature by far is, please, for the love of God, update the player character models.
Yeah, so the character models, I mean, even for their era, they were a little bit behind. I mean, at that time, skin-based characters were just starting to become popular. We actually built the system kind of being aware of that, and we chose staying with a hierarchical-based mesh because we could actually do a lot more customization, a lot more personalization using the older techniques than using the newer techniques. But when we came around to the Hordes of the Underdark expansion, we actually added in some skin models, and I actually personally did that, which was strange because it means I actually did active work on a project other than just yabbering.
You did development. You were developing a game.
I did development.
We had one comment where someone asked, could we make it 3 Trello boards that we can easily follow bug fixes as opposed to new features?
We normally drop the bug fixes with some patch notes, don't we? So wouldn't that be the best way to follow that? Or you can look on the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced board, and it says coming in patch XXX or shipped with patch.
Yeah, so there is an easy way to track that. You just need to drill into the Trello board, and there is a section for that. The most interesting section to me is the active board. So this is stuff that we're currently working on. We have butts and seats typing code to make this a reality. So in that vein, we've got stuff like integrating the new master server into the game itself. That's an ongoing thing. Of course, that needs to be done before Neverwinter Nights is released. That's a key feature.
Yes.
Other cool things that you may not have known about yet, add Steam Workshop support. So for those of you who have been on Steam and have tried out games that support the workshop, it's this really cool feature that makes it easy to try out different modules, mods, DLC, upgrades for your game, basically. Now, that being said, we don't want to leave Neverwinter Vault in the dust, so we're trying to approach this from a very open perspective where maybe we could have Workshop and Neverwinter Vault, but
well, I think you say Neverwinter Vault, that just really is kind of like this broad kind of
another
spectrum.
Source from Workshop.
Steam is a popular platform with most of the game players in the universe on it. But at the same time, I don't think it should be the only platform. And going forward, that's one of the things we want to do is to make sure that Steam is viable and great as a platform, but there are other choices that people can make, including Beamdog.
We want it to be a good Steam citizen, but there's a lot of people who don't go on Steam, so we want to make it a good experience for them too. We don't want to create huge infrastructures that only work for Steam users. Now, of course, immediately after saying that, Steam Friends List is another feature that we're going to add. This is potentially a really, really cool feature where you'll be able to bring up the Steam overlay and invite a friend directly through that rather than having to set up a server, get connected, all that junk. This is just a very simple way for you and a friend to play in Neverwinter co-op together. So I'm personally really, really excited about this because at LAN parties, if it's like, hey, you want to get some D&D action going, setting up a server, oh man, forget about it. But if it's just, hey, bring up the overlay, invite your friends, that's a great experience, and so I would like to have that in the game.
I think the longer term, that kind of reflects where we want to go with the multiplayer, which is just make it easier to get into a game and allow for more options. I mean, part of the Steam Friends concept is essentially being able to call from outside the game into the game and to link people together. And I think broadening support for that allows for a lot of implementations, a lot of options.
Other things on the active board, so we've already talked about this in previous streams, but make it possible to resize characters, so scaling and rotating parts and all that junk.
Scaling from scripting.
So that's being actively worked on. It's a bigger task than we had perhaps initially anticipated.
What are the odds that a task would somehow balloon massively when actually poked?
In a game where characters are built out of individual limbs that float near each other, turns out scaling is a bit of an issue.
Oh, God. The update the player character models, which is in proposed right now, I was doing some research on that. You want to talk about rabbit holes?
Oh, man, yeah.
Let me give you the sequence. It would basically be I roll in the morning, I start work on it. Usually about early afternoon, I get frustrated and confused. Shut it down for the day, finish up other stuff, go home. 3 a.m., massive insight on, hey, if I did it this way, come back in, make progress, become frustrated, hit brick wall, go home. 3 a.m. insight. And the end result is I'm still perplexed, and I think I need some programming help.
Game development.
Yeah, game development equates to running your face into a brick wall repeatedly and then recovering just enough to realize that you're horribly concussed. So the next time you hit the brick wall, it just keeps getting worse and getting worse. And eventually, the wall breaks.
You may have noticed that game devs who've been at it for a long time look kind of like Persian cats. They've got that flat face from just constant, walls. Moving on, visual effect rotation and scaling, all that stuff. So these are sort of related things. If we want to have finer control over the special effects, the models, all that junk in the game. So that's also coming. Normal map support, spec map support, also just very obvious graphical upgrades that we can put out there and then put in the hands of the modders to make cool stuff.
Normal map's a little complicated because we need tension space bias coordinates, which if you know what that means, you know the hell that it involves. And if you don't know what that means and you wish to create custom art content, you will soon understand what that means.
When you've built an engine that doesn't anticipate that stuff right at the beginning, it's a little bit of legwork to bring it back. Just a little bit of advice for those of you who are constructing a 3D Dungeons & Dragons game platform.
If you're ever thinking of making a game, always leave extra space for your tension space bias map.
Another one, add a new tile set. So another very requested feature that we've been getting from people is, hey, there's all these great new features. Can we see them in action?
So
Can we?
That one's part of the normal map spec map support. I mean, in order for us to get the support in the game, we got to actually test it out. So we're actually going to build a pretty small little tile set just to kind of test it out, and we might as well release it to everybody so they can enjoy the wonderful awesomeness that is the new tile set.
And then last on the list is 64-bit support. So more and more games are moving to 64-bit. This is just an obvious upgrade that we should be making. It allows you to access more memory, a few other things that we might want to be doing in the future. And
interesting hand gestures there.
Oh, that was unrelated. I just have this twitch that, I don't know, my hand just kind of sometimes does things.
You are a goof.
Anyways, I think it's time to give a T-shirt away. What do you think?
First, I had a question. There was a question.
Oh, right. There is a question.
I only had one question, really. I bought the Mac App Store version of the Enhanced Edition games. I see Icewind Dale is up to date, but Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 are still running old versions. Any plan to release patches for the Mac App Store games, please?
Yes. We will be getting a patch very, very, very soon. As soon as Infinity Engine 2.5 finishes the beta, which is going to be in the very near future, we're going to be updating Mac App Store for BG, Icewind Dale, and BG2. So we apologize for taking so long. It's been quite a while since the Mac App Store has been updated, but in a very little while, yes, you'll be getting an update. And thank you for being patient. Yeah,
it was a little involved process to get it on a Mac.
Yeah, the Mac App Store, for the effort you have to put into it, the payback is not huge. But if you're a Mac citizen, we want to treat you right, so we'll update it.
So let's give away a T-shirt.
Give away a T-shirt.
I'm not wearing today. I'm wearing a Norwegian sweater today because we are in a deep freeze and it is offensively cold here.
Yeah, what is it, minus 31 right now? That's Celsius.
I think so, yeah.
Although at that temperature, it's getting pretty close to
minus
Fahrenheit.
40 is minus 40. For those of you who calculate your temperature in the wrong method.
What's that in Kelvin?
That's what we should do, is we should give up this Celsius, and we should all just be Kelvin.
304.15. There you go. That's the temperature we're dealing with right now. And for those of you who haven't experienced awful Canadian winters, or I guess Midwest America, whatever, your beard hair freezes, your nose hair freezes. It's not a good experience.
Yeah, and your breath freezes to your eyebrows and to your eyelashes, and your eyelashes can become like a zipper, where they freeze shut, and you've got to kind of blink your eyes open again.
And then you come in, and it melts, and everyone's like, "Oh, you were crying! You were crying!" I wasn't crying, actually. I'm completely not sad about the weather.
And other thing, snotsicles. Snotsicles are real.
That's right.
Totally real. So the T-shirt, we should give away.
Let's give away T-shirts. So we're going to pick randomly from the audience. And the winner
DJ
is
Raptor 23.
DJ Raptor 23. First album, Call of the Shadows. That's a reach. Not a lot of people remember that game. You don't remember Raptor Call of the Shadows? It was the top-down shooter where you're the jet and you could upgrade your weapon. Okay, we're going to YouTube.
No, we are not going to YouTube, you jackass.
And it got re-released recently. All right, so
so people apparently like your hoodie.
Oh, thank you very much. I bought it myself. Actually, that's not true. I think I got it as a gift. I don't remember.
Yep. And there's a comment that I'm drinking grog rather than tea or coffee.
It smells suspicious.
It's like Shadows of Mordor grog.
Well, this is actually a good question. Will there be any new added content like short stories, added parts to the current story, added weapons, updated models, etc., etc.? So basically, will there be new content for you to play? What do you think, Trent? Should we make new content for people to play?
I think that's longer term one of our goals. I mean, we don't have hard plans right now. Right now, we're basically looking at Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition and saying, how do we make this the best goddamn game we can? And the answer is we work hard and we add features and functionality. And I think from a story standpoint, going forward, we're really, really interested in telling new stories within the Neverwinter Nights framework.
I guess one of the things that a lot of people have been asking for is the original campaign, which we've started calling the Wailing Death because it sounds cool and it also never had a name historically. People have been saying, hey, wouldn't it be great if you did a director's cut on the Wailing Death?
So that came out of a comment that I made a long time ago, which is I would have loved to have made a director's cut.
We've had fans interested in that idea.
I don't know if people understand what my mental image of a director's cut is. It involves a machete in one hand and an axe in the other, and me chopping bits out of there like there's no tomorrow. Pavel, dead. Pavel's gone. Or you would walk up to Pavel and he would say like, hello, friend, would you like to do a tutorial? And you would have the option of, go away, Pavel. Never speak to me again. And in fact, die in a fire, Pavel.
We were going to pay Blur $1 million to do this crazy FMV where you stab him in the gut, but
and then he explodes.
Cooler heads prevailed.
On fire and burns, yeah. But and then you would jump straight to Erebeth. Erebeth would literally have like 3 words of dialogue, and then it would roll into a fight, and it would basically be the Michael Bay explosion cut of Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. So when you ask for the director's cut, be very cautious what you are asking for, because I am thinking the Michael Bay version, and you are probably thinking, oh, they'll add a bunch of things.
Yeah, see,
the word add does not exist in my vocabulary when it comes to director's cut.
I would expect that people want stuff like, hey, that section where you got to get the 4 Waterdavian creatures, why don't we add more, stuff that you can do in that section?
Oh, you mean that section that I cut? Because
Yeah.
I cut, director's cut.
So
cut.
in your version, you just run up to Erebeth and you're like, hey, there's a plague. And she's like, yeah, check out these Waterdavian creatures whose heads that I have. Thunk. Hey, plague's cured. And then she goes to hell for some reason to be in Hordes of the Underdark.
Yeah,
so
it basically would be like all the big story beats, just bam, 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 one after the other. Exciting 2-hour-long campaign, and done and out.
You go into the temple, portal to hell opens, she jumps through. I'll see you in 2 expansions.
Exactly.
I like it. One question is, what was your favorite class in Neverwinter Nights and why? Do prestige classes count? Can we mention those?
I don't know. Like this is Neverwinter Nights, so let's stay pre prestige.
The Blackguard was the best. That's why I bought Shadows of Untitled, because the Blackguard was added to the game.
Really?
And they knew everybody wanted to be the Blackguard. So halfway through, there's
when you say they knew, you mean I knew.
There was a shrine that you could go up to, and if you prayed at it, it would, whatever your alignment was, it would make you chaotic evil. Because it's like, hey, we added this new class to the game. We want to let you actually play it.
As
Let's
a
just add an altar.
Sappy paladin, we need a quick way to convert you over.
But it worked, because I was playing a paladin. I knew about the shrine ahead of time, so I rolled a paladin. So he was half paladin, half blackguard. It was cool to me. I think I may have irreversibly ruined that character in terms of stats, but I thought it was neat.
Barbarian. Always be a barbarian.
Yeah.
Barbarians are awesome.
Just because the gear is cheaper,
Hit points. It's all about the hit points, baby.
One of the questions we have, are you restoring any cut content for the Enhanced Edition?
I have a general rule of thumb on cut content, which is it usually got cut for a reason. And the reason was, oh my God, the scope of this original plan was so huge that there was no way this could be accomplished in a reasonable amount of time. So, I mean, we can look at it on a kind of case-by-case basis, but most of the time, cut content was cut for a reason. And going back and revising history doesn't interest me as much as building new.
Yeah, I think everybody here would be more interested in adding, if we were going to change the original campaigns, it would be let's add new stuff for you to do rather than try and dig through old content from 2002 and revamp that.
Here's an interesting question. What are your thoughts on Insomniac Games' statement this week about their biggest regret being relying too heavily on fan feedback? This is a run-on sentence. To shape the direction of their games, then in essence blaming the fall of Resistance on the fans.
I mean, it's a two-edged sword. Like you.
Hey, I wanted to answer that.
All right, go
okay,
nuts.
no, you go ahead.
Go,
you go ahead. You started.
Whatever.
No, you started.
So it's a tool, right? Like you can go too far in listening to fans, and you can also go too far in ignoring them. There's the classic phrase of, if Henry Ford asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, and they weren't wrong for wanting that, but hey, somebody had to step forward and make the car.
I kind of disagree. I think there's two sides, like you said, but I think the two sides are slightly different. I think you've got to love something balls to bone to want to make it and to love it in order for it to be something really cool. Mm-hmm. And that means having a vision of your own that you are carrying forward. Mm-hmm. At the same time, every vision has all the brilliance and some of the crazy. Occasionally the fans will help you point out the crazy, and you can cut the crazy without ever actually having to do it just by listening to what people are saying. But inherently you have to set a direction, and you have to build the product that excites you and that you love. Because if you don't love it, you can feel it. You can feel it when somebody just half-asses something. It feels half-assed.
Another question. What about the cut prestige classes like the Eye of Grumpsh and the Shoe Disciple? Do they stand a chance of being restored? So new classes, they're actually easier to add to the game because there's not really a ton of story implications there. So I think we're more receptive to that sort of thing because that's just adding more options. But at the same time, we're striving to make it easier for you to add classes so that you can come up with the Eye of Grumpsh or the Shoe Disciple or whatever it is that you please.
This is a big feature. I mean, ultimately, it involves us going in and looking at how everything is hard-coded and where it's hard-coded. And the spidery tendrils link everywhere, all the way from the UI down into data, down into 2DAs, into internal code. So there's a lot of spaghetti we got to unspaghettify to make stuff work.
If it happens, it's not necessarily going to be easy, but we'll try and make it possible.
Okay. Is the source code for Icewind Dale 2 still missing? There are no new leads on Icewind Dale 2. We have basically given up spelunking.
We've been through,
and we consider Icewind Dale 2 dead, and it will never happen.
Yeah, we've been through every garage owned by every game dev.
We've
back
called
in
our
the
friends
2000s.
at Obsidian. We've talked to individuals, and everybody's like, "Yeah, I remember where that was at one point, and then it got deleted."
Is in that musty box underneath the filing cabinet in the corner of the parking garage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Question. Who came up with the builds for the recommended button when leveling up? They're widely agreed to be universally terrible. I think those were put together at the absolute last moment before the game went out. And I think it was either somebody in QA or somebody in design.
The game is basically saying, I recommend you get your ass beat.
This is better than you rando guessing what a character should be. This is slightly better. And I mean, is there anything besides a barbarian? Like, why would you ever play anything other than a barbarian?
Because some people like to cast magic missile, Trent. Some people like to believe in magic.
Some people are wrong.
That's true. Some people are wrong. All right, since these versions of the games are the definitive versions, is there ever going to be a case where we see the design docs? Hey, I think there's a giant binder in your office.
I had two design docs. I had the original design doc, which is a small bound little document, which is about 40 pages in length that Mark Holmes and I put together.
Yeah, the real document, however.
And then there's the I don't know. It's the tome of madness that kind of encompasses all that Neverwinter was.
You could literally kill someone with this binder. I'm not kidding.
So the only problem I see with that is it's still kind of internal BioWare doc, so I don't know if we can really release it because it's not really ours to release.
I think we're interested, but we need to do some checking to see if we're allowed to.
I think there's also there's some swearing involved in that.
We need to check with Wizards of the Coast about that one as well. There are some disparaging comments regarding certain races in D&D in there, and it's just mean.
I think there's just a lot of mean in there in general.
Another question on the topic of classes, what about the skills 2DA hard cap? If I recall correctly, the game would ignore any skill after 20 to 25 skills. Again, I believe that's on the Trello board already to uncap that 2DA.
I think that just fits into the D hard codify.
Yeah, it's something we would have to do if we're going to let you make classes.
It's one of those things we kind of got to roll into.
Yeah. Another question, after the 2.5 beta for BG, BG2, and Icewind Dale, do we get a public beta for SOD 2.5 as well? I don't think we have plans for public beta because SOD 2.5 should actually be coming pretty hot on the heels of those. We'll have more to say about that in the near future. But
2.5 was really about fixing the platform and fixing multiplayer issues with that. SOD just runs on the same code, so there's not a massive volume of changes there. So
there will be some dev work there, but we'll talk about it more in the coming weeks.
Oh, here's a question. Can you talk business? How many copies of BG, Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment have been sold? How many in % were sold on Steam? How many NWN copies do you expect to sell in the first year?
8. The answer to all of them is 8.
We can't really go in depth on that. We're actually, in our contracts, it says we can't talk about sales numbers without external approval.
Can we talk about percentages?
Not even percentages.
Okay.
I can say that the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition product is over 1 million units, and it's happily kind of chugging along, steady as she goes.
Yeah, I guess so. This isn't really specific to any of our games, but there's an interesting tale, I guess, with role-playing games where, like, you think you release a game and the income drops off, but with RPGs, because these are experiences that people play for a very, very long time, and the age of an RPG is less of an issue.
Yeah, RPGs are less dependent on specific technology and technology windows. On most games, you'll see the ramp where it does 80% of its sales in the first 3 months, and then it falls off and fairly quickly goes to 0. Especially you see that in retail because shelf space is valuable.
Yeah.
So a game is new, it's on the shelf, and then it's basically discount shelf and then bargain bin, and then it's gone. Whereas in a digital store, shelf space is free. And RPGs have this crazy long tail where I think Baldur's Gate, when it's not on sale, just sells the same amount of copies every week on every platform. It just kind of chugs along steady. So,
and I think it's interesting because initially when we put out BG Enhanced Edition, I think the thought was that we're going to pick up a lot of the nostalgia market, a lot of people who had played Baldur's Gate many, many years ago. But surprisingly, there's this whole new generation of people coming in. And if you go to like the Baldur's Gate forums or subreddits or Steam groups, you see a lot of people who are showing up and it's like, hey, I'm trying out Baldur's Gate for the first time. What order should I play them in? What's some recommendations for characters?
This doesn't make any goddamn sense to me.
Too.
What is 2nd edition D&D and what is THAC0? And I hate myself.
Oh, THAC0. But it's refreshing to see, there's new people who see these games and they're like, I can look past, the old school presentation and see that there's this really amazing open world game there.
And just the depth there. It's amazing depth. So I think the big thing is THAC0 is like, it's a growth experience.
Oh, yeah.
It's once you pass through the crucible of pain that THAC0 is, you are more as a human.
And I think so. We've been helped quite a bit by Pillars of Eternity and Tyranny, bringing people into this genre, and then they're like, hey, that was great. I want more. Where do I go? And really, right now, the only place to go is back in time to Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. How does it feel to have created such a formative game for people? I know myself and many others got ourselves into IT, specifically programming, because of Neverwinter Nights. This game literally changed my life. It feels
Trent,
awesome. It feels
how does it
awesome.
feel? Feel
like,
good?
When we were making Neverwinter, I was almost like filled with religious zeal of, I am going to change the world and my team with me. The universe will be different once this is shipped. And 5 years later, the crumbled husk of remains that I and my team were shipped a game. I couldn't even look at a computer for 3 months. I shut down. And when I came back, I was kind of like, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm kind of lost.
So you know, in Mass Effect, those like husk creatures that are made by the Reaper, he was the inspiration for these broken, shambling.
I was the husk
things.
Yep. But I mean, I'm proud of what Neverwinter did, and I always felt I wasn't done with the concept because I still love the idea of like this idea of democratizing game design and letting people run their own servers and their own adventures. Because to me, Dungeons and Dragons is about getting together with your friends, playing an adventure, and having a hoot. And Neverwinter captured a lot of those buttons, but it didn't get them all. So we still got some work to do.
Other question, any plans on doing any original Planescape campaign games? What a good question.
So there was a leak short while ago of an image that we had that said Planescape, I think, what was it, Unraveled?
It was Planescape Unraveled.
So we explored the concept, and I mean, on a fundamental level, we couldn't get a publisher for it. So it kind of died on the vine. It's
hard to get a single-player game that does not lend itself well to a multiplayer experience that is extremely story-based and in a really weird setting.
I'm all bitter right now. I mean, we've gone through a couple of pitch cycles now, and it's like, hey, can you guys make like PUBG? It's like, no, we cannot make PUBG. We can make a story-based RPG that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But will that sell 10 million units? It's like, no, it will not sell 10 million units. Well, we're not interested.
That's a really hard setting to understand. Could you make the Lady of Pain talk?
Yeah. Hey, could you make it a lot simpler? The moral of the story is I think there's an entire side of the business that is chasing $100 million to $1 billion games. And then there's the rest of us. And for the rest of us, it is a nasty knife fight in a back alley.
Do you think we would ever do a Kickstarter type thing?
I don't know. Kickstarter terrifies me. It's kind of like standing up on stage and dropping your pants, and either the world claps or the world laughs.
Recoils in horror.
and the hilarious thing is that the fear of everyone laughing is just terrifying.
Well, there's that. Yeah.
It is. It's like, look at our brilliant, awesome idea, and silence and crickets, and you're basically saying, oh my God, we did the thing and nobody cares and nobody showed up.
Well, beyond that, so I mean, if you look at the numbers for crowdsource funding these days, they're actually trending negative for video games.
But the main reason is that nobody decent is pitching because everybody's terrified of failing.
Yeah.
Because it's not bad when you're like riding your BMX bike and you can out on your face.
No one saw. Who cares?
No one saw. It's fine. When you do it in front of an entire swimming pool full of people, all the community that you know. That is horrible and almost irrecoverable. I would say almost the death of a company. So Kickstarter terrifies me. I love the idea. I love the concept. But, oh, man, do I find the failure intimidating.
And this is my last comment on Kickstarter.
Yeah, right.
The rewards, the reward tiers are a massive, staggeringly huge distraction. And even companies that handle them very, very well suffer for them. This is a controversial opinion, but Pillars of Eternity, all those like gold characters that you could talk to who were backers that had these awful stories associated with them, I feel like that made the game worse. I honestly do. And when you have all of these crazy rewards that you have to jam into the game at the expense of perhaps other more interesting things, it kind of sucks.
You sound a little bitter there, Phil. For me, I mean...
I backed it. I wanted a better game.
The biggest thing for me with Kickstarter is just, it's terrifying. It's literally terrifying. The idea that you put out your best idea, and it's not free. Like, way back in the day, I put together a Kickstarter pitch for something. And literally 3 months of work to put it together, film it, get it ready to go. And it was denied by external party because I couldn't get approval to do it. But 3 months of work to put this all together, like building all these tiers and this plan and everything. And that's 3 months so that you can go and drop your pants in public and see if everybody cheers or if they laugh.
I mean, and any pitch like that is a risk, but there right now for us are better options, I think.
Yeah. So Phil's actually going to start playing the game. I can answer a couple more questions while he is busily playing along.
And Trent's going to roleplay Deacon, and I will be the main character.
Do you know Dave wrote Deacon?
Can we get Dave in here to roleplay Deacon?
One of the first lines that Deacon says is he's talking about his story, and he's saying, I was writing a great story, but then my publisher kept saying, make it epic, 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 epic. And I actually said those exact words to Dave. I was like, we are making Hordes of the Underdark. This is epic levels. I want this to be epic, epic, epic. And then Dave mocks me with Deacon.
Deacon is adorable.
I thought was hilarious. So I was like, so Dave, Deacon. He was like, yeah, Deacon. I was like, yeah, well done, well done. You got me.
I think internally the idea for Deacon was, what if Sespinar were a companion? And then they got rid of his wings.
I don't think there was that much thought. I think it was, wouldn't it be cool to have a kobold as a party member? And a kobold bard at that?
Wouldn't it be cool to have a goblin as a party member? We did that, by the way.
Yeah, we totally did. Got another question here. Can you talk about hack/TLK synchronization download when connecting to a multiplayer
this is a good
server?
one.
So anybody who doesn't know about hacks and TLKs, that's kind of how you build extra content for your adventure, like new art, new dialogue stuff. Currently, you have to go and you have to download the hack and the TLK ahead of time, and then you can play the adventure. Neverwinter 2 did a system where they could actually auto-download it. We're looking at a similar system. It's just one of those things we got to figure out the best and smartest way to do it. I mean, I want it to be as pain-free as possible. Steam Workshop is kind of a way to go in that direction, but I think there's additional things we can do in that space. As always, I mean, we got to scope out the problem space, look at the potential solutions, and kind of lay out a roadmap on where we want to go on it. So it's going to be a little while before we do that. Any timelines when you're going to decide which modules will be in the Ultimative Neverwinter Nights EE Collector's Edition?
The Ultimative.
Ultimative. That's an awesome word.
I'm going to steal that from now on.
It is like the penultimate. It's the Ultimative. Ultimately, I mean...
Ultimatively.
The Collector's Edition is something that's... I mean, we've talked about it a couple times. We're still thinking about what that might be. I mean, I look at it, we've got Digital Deluxe that has all the premium modules. I think as far as a Collector's Edition, what else would be in there?
I think, so if we were going to do like you're talking about a physical box, I assume. And if we were going to do that, that would probably be after any new content that we want to produce. So if we produce new content and if we do a collector's edition, we would probably include all the new stuff that we did in that collector's edition.
Ooh, got a question. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance Enhanced Edition.
All right.
No, I'm going to get this one.
Tell people what that game is, because they're so confused about it.
So Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is a game that was built for console that is very action-oriented. It's D&D based. It's a pretty action-y interpretation of D&D, and they actually did a good job. There's the guys over at Snowblind. And it's quite a different game from the Baldur's Gate games that most people know. But they did fairly well. And they were cool little games. We looked into it, and it fundamentally comes down to like technology rights. Snowblind was acquired by Monolith, which was then acquired by Warner Brothers. So we've had some conversations, and ultimately it will take money to solve the problem, and I don't think we have enough potential money to solve that problem right now. It's one of those things. Maybe we can unlock it going down the road with money, because that seems to be the solution for everything. Well,
I heard
Beholder
money is pretty handy. Foul tasting thing, hit it again.
Whoa, dude, you totally whacked the Beholder like in a hurry.
Well, I'm pretty high level here.
What are you?
I'm a fighter.
24th.
Half elf.
I think I understand that.
See, any game can be beaten with the proper application of levels.
And the proper application of QA people pre-leveling your character for you.
Thank you, Andrew.
On the same topic of hacks and TLKs, what about loading the hack/TLK before creating the character on a server? And that's one of the potential solutions for the character class issue. Ultimately, I think there might be better ways of doing it. I'm almost wondering if a hack and maybe there's a third kind of hack that is like a rules mod. I don't know. At this point, I haven't thought enough on this to really kind of come up with the definitive solution on it. I think the truth is we'll sit down with our advisory group and we'll talk back and forth on it. We'll say, okay, the fans are asking for this. You have seen this and you've implemented it this way. If we had 100% full source code access, we could go in and we could change anything and simplify things. What's the best awesome way to do it? And that's what we'll do.
I think we should give away a T-shirt.
You think so?
It's about that time.
Nah.
And after we give away the T-shirt,
we give away too many T-shirts.
I'm going to start voicing Deacon.
We should totally quit doing the T-shirt thing.
Okay, no more T-shirts for anyone.
You just got sad.
Look at him.
Boom. You are down.
Ow.
Come on, Deacon.
There we go.
All right, we'll give away a T-shirt.
All right, so the winner of the T-shirt is
Sprockets 101. Sprockets 101.
This beholder is bouncing around like Spider-Man.
Another question here. Is Neverwinter Nights 2 a possibility? Or is there really not much you could do with it? Question mark. Too recent? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Well, other than the excessive question marks, that's a good question. Neverwinter 2 is Obsidian. Honestly, we haven't talked too much about it. And at this point, I'm looking at Neverwinter Nights, and I'm looking at where I want to go with it. And there is enough work there to keep me busy for a long time. So I think Neverwinter 2 is not even a glimmer of a thought at this moment.
So if you guys want to just call up Obsidian nonstop for the next year and say, hey, wouldn't it be great if you let Beamdog combine the two games? You know, that would help.
Or even better, wouldn't it be great if you paid Beamdog to make Neverwinter 2 Enhanced Edition? Kidding.
Yeah, well, you know, Neverwinter 1 plus Neverwinter 2, technically that's just Neverwinter 3 right there.
Dude, that is like taking a box of apples and oranges and saying you've just created the ultimate oranges.
I made a fruit salad. It's delicious.
It's a confused fruit salad.
All right.
Question, any news on the localizations of SOD?
No news at the moment. It's definitely something that we would like to look into this year, but we don't have any information to tell you right now.
Yeah.
Another question. Hey guys, are you intending to balance any of Neverwinter Nights' more egregious game design quirks like, for instance, Summons, Isaac's Greater Missile Storm, among other spells? No? Yes?
I think ultimately we're going to try and leave the game as it was. I think from a rebalancing standpoint, if something is truly broken, we can take a look at it. But in most cases, I think we're going to basically default to saying, you know what, this is the game that you know and you remember. And
yeah, so we kind of addressed this in previous streams, but basically the rule is if it's a bug, like if you can point to this and straight up say this is objectively buggy, then yeah, we'll fix it. But if it's a decision that was made by the designers for a particular reason, then it's not an auto fix for us.
Yeah, and I remember early days, like we were playing Contest of Champions before the game shipped, and for some reason Noel was always winning with the cleric class. We found out that there was actually a critical bug in the one spell that ignored the saving throw, and so you basically were auto killed. And we're like, man, Noel's really good. No, Noel is a cheating bastard. You're still a cheating bastard, Noel. And ultimately we found that was a bug that needed to get fixed. But I think we will leave most of the stuff that's not a bugs as is. Here's a question. Trent did the weapon models, right?
You did.
Yes, I did. I modeled all of the weapons in-game.
You did this.
And
look at this guy.
I was exceptionally proud of how low poly and efficient they were.
Oh, being attacked.
And there were some scenarios where I did really bad things to make the weapons as low poly as I did, which at the time I thought I was brilliant. But Trent's standard rule of game development is anytime you think you're being clever, in a decade, you're actually a jerk. So currently, all the things that I thought were awesome are now biting us in the butt when we try to do more advanced things with them. So I'm going to have to fix all those.
Stop doing advanced things. Easy solution.
Here's another question. Have you made any progress thinking about how to approach the UI? What is the status on that? So we have two potential thoughts on UI. One is to take the existing system and essentially mod the existing system so it's more modular and more configurable. And the second option is to essentially replace it by putting another UI schema on top of it and then slowly porting to the second. We're currently doing some research into approach number 2. Based on that research, we will make a call if number 2 is correct or if number 1 is correct. So that's the current status on that. So we're waiting on investigation. Question. So if not Neverwinter Nights 2, then what will be next? Ooh. Dude, we got so much work to do. We got to ship the 2.5 stuff. We got Siege of Dragonspear that still needs to go out on tablets. We got 2.5 Siege of Dragonspear. We got the Neverwinter Nights stuff. We got work. We got so much work. I don't even want to know the future. I don't even want to look past that. And I don't even want to talk about unannounced internal projects we got on the go. They just stress me out.
I think what we can say, though, is this year you'll probably hear about something.
Maybe.
Maybe.
How about the gold box games?
Oh, man, I want to do those so much.
EE or premium modules for Neverwinter Nights? I don't know. The gold box games are... That's going back a long ways. I mean, I wouldn't even want to look at that code base and try to bring that into work in Windows 10.
Yeah, so you get the Legend of Grimrock engine and you remake them and it'll be great. No, nobody? Okay.
You speak of things that sound like a whole
you
lot.
Just get an engine.
A lot of work and a lot of pain, man.
You do all the contract work. It's simple.
I think like premium modules. I think there's a real opportunity there to do interesting, fun stories. And I think there are some great, fun, historic stories that could be told that way. It's one of those things, again, there's this whole process of, hey, I'm interested in X. Okay, what's involved in X? Okay, let's find out the rights, let's find out what's going on, and dig into it.
Sorry, I'm just dealing with the horde of undead here. A little distracting.
It looks like a good group of undead and a storm cloud.
What a varied party for me to slaughter. Come on, greater wind zombie.
Here's a question. How difficult would it be to create new levels of visibility so we could hide and display things to specific players/creatures? Say I want to show a placeable to only one player on the server and not anyone else. Would this be feasible? Possibly. You'd basically have to set a visibility based on the player ID. I don't think there's any way to currently do it. It's something we could potentially add down the road. I think a couple scripting commands might enable something like that, but at this point, this isn't even a glimmer of a thought for us. We've got so many things to go that God dang it, we got a lot of work. Who did the inventory items artwork? Most of the inventory items were done by Sung Kim and Mark Holmes. Mark Holmes was the art director. Mark's out in Montreal and Sung is out in Vancouver now. Good fellows. I miss them. I played Soul Calibur against Sung so many times. We had this whole... Our level of trash talk was epic. I miss trash talking Sung. Sung, I miss trash talking you. I totally miss it.
Eat it if you're out there.
How close are we to the 16K item limit being removed? Question mark. Soon, TM. Question mark. I don't know. It's one of those things we just kind of need to look at it and see what's involved and when we can knock it out. It might be as simple as, oh wow, there's a 16,000 number here. Or it could be 165536, which is the power of 2 that is usually what dictates it.
Basically, just make sure you see it on the Trello board, and if it's not there yet, then get it on there.
Yeah, good rule of thumb is that we have the mind of squirrels, and it's like, ooh, shiny, and we fix the shiny, and by putting it on the Trello board and voting it up, it stays shiny, and we keep it in mind. Oh, question, are you going to Gamescom this year? Maybe a meet and greet, hang up, drink some beer, get drunk, get games and collectibles signed?
You don't have to go to Gamescom to do all that stuff.
I don't think we got any plans to go to Gamescom this year. We're pretty tight on the travel. Like my philosophy in the game industry is You know what? I could probably go to a conference every week. And at the end of the day, I would be tired, plague-ridden, because every time I travel, I seem to catch something, and get no work done. So rather than that, we're very focused. We literally do 1 or 2 shows a year. And when we do them well. But that is it. That is our focus. Typically, we do the Game Developers Conference. That's kind of the major show that we go to. We've attended E3 numerous times. We've attended PAX numerous times, but we've never kind of done anything there. Gamescom, we've talked about going, but it's kind of a big thing to mount up. I think when we've got something big to push and announce, it'll be worth doing. But for right now, it's just we can't lose that much time from development.
I'll go. If you want to send me, I'll come drink with you.
Phil will volunteer to travel and drink with you.
Let's get loaded, man. Let's do it. Get me a ticket. I will be there, buddy.
So let's talk about what you're doing here, Phil.
I am killing wind zombies so that these things stop spawning. You have to kill 3 of the greater wind zombies to kill that wind vortex thing.
I see.
And then the zombies potentially stop coming, but I keep dying, so I'm going to heal up a little bit here.
You have a habit of dying.
It's because, you know, life in the world of D&D is dangerous. It's messy.
I think we should
violent.
give you the nickname Phil Deddy. Daigle.
If you can make it stick, you know, go nuts.
All
but
right,
it's not. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
All right, there, Deddy.
Why do characters pass through door triggers without triggering them sometimes? Also, what's with appearing behind triggers when arriving in an area, stepping through, and being sent back to the area you just came from? Yeah, Trent, what's the deal?
Bugs. It's basically there's some problems in the code. We just need to spend some time, figure out what's triggering the problem and what's the nature of the beast behind it.
Oh, it was one more win.
It's one of those. It's inconsistent enough that you can't easily reproduce whatever causes it. So it's hard to nail down. Question here. What made you get into video game development? So,
no one wants to be a game developer.
I was 10. I actually had graph paper and I drew out the General Lee in 8 orientations from top-down ISO of the General Lee, and I wanted to make a Dukes of Hazzard game.
Fair enough.
That's about as far as I went.
Fair enough.
The Dukes of Hazzard General Lee drawn out in the 8 directions, but I kind of always enjoyed video games, and I always thought, you know, it'd be pretty cool to make them. And then I was like, hey, I'm in school. I'm in high school. I should talk to a guidance counselor. And I rando picked systems analyst out of some kind of career book, and I was like, I should be a systems analyst.
Systems analyst.
That sounds respectable. So I was like, what does a system analyst do? Well, they go to school and they take computer science. So I'm like, I'm going to take computer science because in high school, I was good with computers. I actually was kind of a jerk on computers. I used to write all my assignments in 1 line of code, just to kind of be a jerk, and say like, this is how awesome I am. Look at my chops. And the teacher basically gave up on me and said, go in a room and work by yourself, and the rest of us will be here learning. And I was like, okay. But yeah, so I decided systems analyst. So I went to university, and then in the summer between my 3rd year and my 4th year, we started making a video game, and it became Blasteroids 3D. And the deal was, we agreed at the beginning of summer if we were going to finish a video game, if we got it done by the end of the summer break, I wouldn't go back to university, and we would roll and become professional game developers.
Bad news, guys.
I died. We became professional game developers. You always die, Phil. There's no surprise there.
But first time, and it's like 10 minutes to the end here.
The question here, who's your fighter of choice in Soul Calibur? If you say Voldo, I'm out. Dude, nobody likes the GIMP, except for Winsky.
It's all about, the pirate, what's his name?
Cervantes.
Cervantes, yes.
Cervantes, I read an article that said Cervantes did a little damage more than every other character, and being the ultimate twinker that I am, I totally played Cervantes. I'm like, there's an office full of people who have way more time to play this game than I do. So I need every possible advantage that I can get. So I'm going to play the best character, and I'm only going to play that character and get really good at it. Whereas like guys like John Winsky, they would play every character and be really good at them. So they would play Edge Master, who would swap into all the different characters. And I was like a one-trick pony, but I was good at that trick. I was awesome at Cervantes.
I think I played Sophia. She was the Greek.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was
with the
pretty
short
good.
sword. She was Greek. I thought she was like Nordic.
I thought it was Greek mythology that she came from.
I don't know.
It's been a while. It was on the
Backstory,
PS2.
fighting
so
game backstory. We had it on Dreamcast. We had the sticks, and at BioWare we kept breaking the sticks and getting them repaired. And in the end, the sticks were just these feeble shells of what they once were, because they had been used so many times. And I think we broke multiple couches. Just people sitting in them and just gaming so hard that couches were broken. How big is the Beamdog team? And how many people work on Neverwinter Nights? So, Beamdog's 30 people internal right now, and there's probably another dozen, probably a little more. I'd have to look exactly. I think we're probably probably about 20 people external right now. How many people are working on Neverwinter Nights? Neverwinter scales up and down. I mean, sometimes we're rolling QA on it hard. Sometimes we're in a dev cycle, so the QA moves over, works on like 2.5 or something. Anywhere from about 5 to 15 people. Ooh.
come on, Greater Wind Zombie.
Kill it already.
Almost.
Kill it with fire.
Oh, I lost my companion. I'm going to die.
You did lose your companion. Do you have like a Rod of Resurrection or something?
I do, actually.
Why are
I
you...
gotta deal with this first, though.
Nah, resurrect him. He comes back with full
No,
health.
because if
He
I
can
kill
help
the
you.
Greater Wind Zombie, then the other guys are no... Look at this Greater Cleave. Look at this. Yeah, Greater Cleave.
That is where Great Cleave is awesome.
I'm still going to die, though, because I've got like 1 hit point.
That's why potions, dude.
Wait, let me find the rod.
Here's a question. How hard would it be to revamp the sprites for the party members in IE games? Did you ever consider doing it during BG or Icewind Dale development? We mainly recoiled in horror from the Baldur's Gate sprites because of the complexity involved. So, a BG sprite is the character plus the weapon that you swing. So every swing of a weapon has to have the character lining up with that weapon. So you need to render all the weapons for all the attacks. You need to render all the characters for all the attacks. It's the reason that the number of attacks is quite limited. And when we looked at that, it's like, okay, sprite-based. It would be so much smarter to just go in and do this with like 3D graphics. Because sprite-based, I mean, you're frame rate limited. You can only shoot so many frames, and then you have to replay it at that rate. Whereas 3D animation, you do it keyframe based, and then you just let it slurp spherical linear interpolation between the keyframes. And based on frame rate, you can get this infinitely high frame. You can get a really high rate of animation frame, or you can get a low. So we looked at it, and we basically made the call of we can't afford to redo the sprites for Baldur's Gate as is, and redoing it all in 3D would be as well too much work.
Basically, it's a price thing.
Yep.
It would be super cool, but yeah, it's hard to justify the expense.
I mean, I think Baldur's Gate is Baldur's Gate, and what makes it awesome isn't the sprites. And having new sprites would make it look a little better graphically, but I don't think it would make it a fundamentally different experience. I think it's a good experience as is. And I think we kind of really wanted to kind of stay true to the curation aspect of it and not push the whole, we're going to rebuild the whole thing.
At that point, yeah, it would be Baldur's Gate HD instead of Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, which is a different thing fundamentally.
Which is kind of what we actually originally planned to do, but then when we found out that BioWare had lost all the source assets, we abandoned that like a canoe with a big hole in the bottom.
Baldur's Gate, too many creatures. Why? Why you gotta have so many creatures, Baldur's Gate?
Yep.
Why you gotta make my life hard?
Question, can you change the size of the loading screen and the splash screen? Very small, especially certain windows in the main menu. Too many empty spaces in the screen.
Yeah, the UI scaling is going to get opened up a lot more.
UI, ultimately, UI needs love.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to.
UI in general is a long-term lift for us. There's going to be a lot of changes and improvements to that going forward. So if you're worried about scaling, keep your eyes peeled because stuff's coming.
Well, it's not going to be overnight. I mean,
no.
UI is going to be one of those long burn fights.
Yeah.
Where you kind of emerge from the back alley all bloodied and beat up.
So it looks 2D, but tell the fans a little bit about the actual internal structure of this UI.
So the UI is actually built out of 3D elements that are exported out as MDL files, and they're cut up in oddball ways to work with power of 2 textures. So we were being clever. And Trent's standard rule of clever is 10 years later, clever becomes pain. So the UI needs love. It needs a really aggressive kick in the ass, and that's going to be a fight.
What dog breed does Beamdog look like? Hey, you just got a new dog. What breed is that?
Bernese Mountain Dog crossed with a Labradoodle thing.
There you go. The Beamdog is a Burmese Mountain Dog crossed with a Labradoodle.
No, I always thought of Beamdog as kind of like, I guess it's based on Borcoli.
What was Barclay? He was like a weird mutt.
Yeah. So Beamdog is a mutt.
There you go.
A brilliant, happy to be their mutt. I mean, the whole concept of Beamdog was transfer companion.
It's a farm dog. That's what it is.
Yeah, he's a rando farm dog. He's like, hey, people, how you doing? Oh, you want me to do something? I'll go grab that. Sure, that'd be awesome. He's a helpful, awesome farm dog.
That can talk.
Yeah.
Get out of here, Big B. That's right.
Question.
You can't crush me.
Keen on asking community for UI suggestions and then doing a community vote? I think UI literally comes down to a couple things. I mean, one of them is just the programmatic architecture that underlies it. And that one, we're basically just going to make the best technology decision we can. As far as layouts and designs and everything, I think the hope there is we'll basically port over what exists into a new framework and take feedback on it and kind of iterate that forward. The other thing about it is we're going to build a system so it's pretty moddable. So I think the hope there would be if the community wants to do something, they can.
I think ultimately we want to put the power in your hands. We don't want to dictate what a new UI should look like. Yep. We want to open up the tools and let you create to your heart's content. And if someone out there creates this incredible UI that completely upgrades the game and it's amazing, hey, we can talk about making that part of the game. But
or making it a skin that people can just grab.
Making it a piece of DLC or something.
Yeah. And we got another question here. What is the chance for custom damage types and corresponding resistance/immunity types like force damage? So I remember when we coded the whole effect system, we wanted to kind of manage the number of parameters, and really it came down to how do we keep this sane, and at the same time, how do we stay true to the D&D rules? Again, it's something that we can look at and kind of see as part of the unhard coding pass. Does this make sense to unhard code and to leave it out?
Do you have any more questions? Oh, I think it's time to give away a t-shirt. Oh boy.
We'll give away the last t-shirt of this stream to Eric72. You were the proud winner of a Neverwinter Nights t-shirt, which we have actually blown through all the t-shirts we made.
Yeah, we got to order more
and now we got to make more, which is, I guess it's a good problem.
We've even given away the ones that we've worn. So if yours showed up with disgusting pit stains,
Phil is lying. We did not wear your t-shirt.
Well, I came in after hours and I put on each shirt and then took it off.
That reminds me of a story that I'm totally not going to tell.
Great story. All right, so I guess we'll start wrapping things up here. So Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, if you want in on the Head Start program where we're testing out all of these new upgrades and improvements, and if you want to get involved in helping guide what features and improvements that you want to see, grab the Head Start on Beamdog and you can start contributing today. You can also start playing on all these great new persistent world servers that are coming back or upgrading to the Enhanced Edition. And yeah, Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, it's coming back. It's looking great.
Yeah, so you can buy it on Beamdog right now. You can get into the Head Start program. We can give you a Steam code when it launches on Steam. If you want input, the best place is the forums and the Trello input board. Vote the features you want up. We literally have a triage meeting in this very room, and we sit down and we look and, okay, what are the top 3s on the input list? Okay. let's move them over. Let's take a look, see what's required. Following us is the Dungeons & Dragons Fireside Chat.
With Nathan Stewart, Dungeons & Dragons brand manager, and a man whose identity I'm going to steal in the coming weeks, so stay tuned.
Phil is actually a huge fan of Nathan, so much so I think he wants to
Nathan's
skin
a
him
huge fan of
and
me.
crawl inside his flesh.
Yes. See you guys. We'll see you
On
next
that
week.
morbid note.
See you next week. We'll have another patch for you. See you later.